And finally, last thing here. Good. Welcome to this live mock test, actually. We're going to focus on IELTS listening. Usually we focus on IELTS reading on a Thursday night, but I wanted to do something different and focus on listening. So this is going to be the first of a probably 4-part series. We're going to do a mini mock test. I'm going to break down every question type there is for IELTS listening. And we're going to look at them in detail, and I'm going to teach you a method to master each of those question types for IELTS listening. So let's get started. So first of all, just a little bit of information about the 4 different parts of IELTS listening. So there are 4 types of audio. Part 1 is 2 speakers talking about an everyday situation. It's going to be quite easy, like booking a flight, for example. Part 2 is 1 speaker talking about an everyday situation, perhaps describing an art gallery or something like that. Part 3, it starts to get much more challenging because there will be 2 to 4 speakers, and it will be set in an educational context, such as a university or a training center or something like that. Part 4 is the most challenging. It's 1 speaker, and it's usually a university lecture. What are the different question types in IELTS listening? Well, there are 6 question types: multiple choice, matching, plan, map, diagram, labeling, form, note, table, flowchart, summary completion, sentence completion, and short answer. In this live mock test, what are we going to do? We're going to focus on these 2, multiple choice and matching. This one is particularly tricky, so we're going to take a close look at that one. Multiple choice is a bit more straightforward, but nevertheless, there are some things you need to pay attention to. What does multiple choice look like in your IELTS listening exam? It looks like this. That's what you're going to see on your test paper, okay? So how do we break this down? How do we do this to make sure we're getting the right answer each time? Well, we need a method. We need a way to do this, a step-by-step process to do it. And it goes something like this. Not something like this, actually. It goes like this. This is the method. First thing you do is read the instruction. Why? Because they vary slightly. Sometimes the instruction says choose the correct letter A, B, or C. Sometimes it will have 4 answer options. Sometimes it will say choose the best 2 answers. So you need to pay attention to this because it will vary from question to question, exam to exam. Cool, that's pretty straightforward. Second thing you need to do is understand the prompt. And I say this because the audio, you have no control over the audio. In IELTS reading, you control when you read. In IELTS listening, you don't control anything. You sit there and you are subject to the audio. And so you have to move very quickly before the audio starts playing. So what you have to do is you get that exam paper and you look. You have to know where to look, what to do before that audio starts to play. You need to understand the question prompt. And you need to understand the key words like type insurance. And a little trick that you can do is instead of memorizing type of insurance chosen, you can just say something like insurance type, insurance type, insurance type. You can rearrange so that when you start to listen, you know what you're listening for. You should also glance at the answer options. For example, here, insurance type, there are 3, economy, standard, and premium. So you glance at those answer options before the audio begins to play. Fine. Then the audio begins to play. So this is what I'm going to do. I want you to look at this, take a look at this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the audio. I want you to read and listen, and I'm going to show you clues. I'm going to show you distractors, and I'm going to show you synonyms for the answer. So listen carefully and read along, and then we'll select the right answer.
Okay, right. Now, Obviously, insurance is an important thing to consider, and our companies are able to offer very good rates in a number of different all-inclusive packages.
Sorry, could you explain a bit more?
Yes, sorry. There's really 3 rates according to quality of insurance cover. There's the highest comprehensive cover, which is premium rate. Then there's standard rate, and then there's economy rate. That one will only cover the cost of the contents second hand.
Oh, I've been stung before with economy insurance, so I'll go for the highest.
Mm-hmm. And can I just check, would you want home delivery or to a
I
local
just realized that the audio is slightly different. I'm going to read this final one. He says, "Oh, I've been stung before with economy, so I won't go for that one. Standard sounds good, but the items are very valuable, so I'll go for the highest. Please choose number 1, A, B, or C." Type it into the chat. If you're on YouTube, type it into the comments below. Good, 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 good. Well done. Cool. Let's have a look at this transcript, because the transcript is very important, because all IELTS audios follow a similar pattern. They all have distractors, clues, and synonyms. So let's have a look at those distractors and those clues. So here's a clue. She says, yes, sorry, there's really 3 rates. Okay, 3 rates. You know that you're here. You know that you're about to hear the answer. According to quality of insurance cover, she says there's the highest comprehensive cover premium rate. She's talking about this one first. Then there's standard rate. Then there's economy rate. That one will only cover the cost of the content secondhand. He says, oh, I've been stung before with economy. You could be fooled into then choosing A. He said economy must be A. You select A and you think, job done. No, the IELTS is a tricky test. It's there to trick you. Don't be fooled by something like that. Keep listening. So I won't go with that one. And then he says, standard sounds good. And you think to yourself, fantastic, got it, it's B. Standard sounds good, you tick B, but you've been tricked because the IELTS is tricky. Finally, he says, but the items are very valuable, so I'll go for the highest. I'll go for is another way of saying I'll take the highest. Economy, it's a distractor. I've been stung before with economy. I won't go with that one. So we eliminate it. Standard sounds good. It's a distractor, but the items are very valuable. So we eliminate that one. So the items are very valuable, so I'll go for the highest. Premium, that's the last part of the method. You choose your answer, and the answer is C. Cool. On your on your answer sheet, you will then, next to number 1, write the letter C. That's how the answer sheet works. I'm just going to check the chat because it's flashing. Good, 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 good. Well done, everybody. Got it. Multiple choice is dead simple, though. The next one we're going to look at, called matching, is not. This one is really quite tricky. So let's look at a method for how to complete this one successfully. This is what it looks like on test day. This is what you'll see on your paper. Just spend a few seconds looking at this because it's extremely confusing. I've taken the IELTS. I took the IELTS academic, and I can tell you that questions like this on test day, when you're under pressure, if you don't understand what to do, if you don't have a step-by-step process to answering it, the pressure of the exam day, etc., sometimes your mind just goes blank and you look at this and you think, what am I supposed to do? So let's have a closer look at it. We need a method. The method is this. The first thing you need to do is connect this question prompt, this question prompt. You need to connect this question prompt to here, to the numbered list. So forget A, B, and C. Forget this. Don't look at this. What does Jack tell his tutor about? And you move down to here, to media studies. So it's like this. What does Jack tell his tutor about media studies? What does Jack tell his tutor about women and power? What does Jack tell his tutor about culture and society, identity and popular culture, introduction to cultural theory? If you look at the question in this way, it makes it understandable. You think, okay, I get it, so that's good. That's the first step. Second step is we move from what does he tell his tutor about media studies to the possible answer options. So what does Jack tell his tutor about media studies? He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. Fine. So if we broke the question down into a simpler way, it should look like this. What does Jack tell his tutor about media studies? He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. So this is the first thing you have to do when you get a matching question on test day, is to think about it differently, see it differently so you can understand what it's asking you to do. So let's now have a listen, then we'll go through and do it one by one.
You will hear a communication studies student talking to his tutor about optional courses for the next semester.
Come in. Oh, hello, Jack. Have a seat. Right. You said you wanted to see me to talk about your options next semester?
That's right. We have to decide by the end of next week. Really, I'd like to do all 5 options, but we have to choose 2, don't we?
Yes, but the choice depends on your major, to some extent. You're majoring in communication studies, aren't you?
That's right.
So, for example, the media studies option will cover quite a lot of the same area you did in the core module on mass communications this semester, the development of the media through the last 2 centuries in relation to political and social issues.
Well, that was interesting, but I've decided I'd rather do something completely new. There's a women's studies option, isn't there?
Yes, women and power. Again, it has a historical focus. It aims to contextualize women's studies by looking at the legal and social situation in the 19th and early 20th centuries.
So it would be useful if I intended to specialize in women's studies, but I'm not sure I do, actually.
Well, it might still be useful to give you an idea of the issues involved. It's taught by Dr. Steed.
Oh, really? I'll sign up for that then. What about the option on culture and society?
That addresses the historical debate on the place of culture since the Industrial Revolution in Britain.
So a historical focus again?
Do I get the message you're not so keen on history?
Well, it's just that we seem to have done quite a lot this semester. Anyway, I'll think about that one.
If you're interested in a course focusing on current issues, there's the option on identity and popular culture that approaches the subject through things like contemporary film, adverts, soap operas, and so on.
That sounds interesting. Can you tell me who runs it?
Well, it's normally Dr. Stevens, but he's on sabbatical next semester, so I'm not sure who will be running it. It should be decided by next week, though.
Right. Well, I might wait until then to decide. And the last option is Introduction to Cultural Theory, isn't it? I'm quite interested in that too. I was talking to one of the second-year students, and she said it was really useful. It made a lot of things fall into place.
Yes, but in fact, in your major, you'll have covered a lot of that already in Communications 102, so that might be less useful than some of the others.
Oh, I'll forget about that one then.
Now, while you're here, we could also discuss how you're getting on with your core module assignment.
Fine, you've just listened to that. Do put your answers in. I'm just curious. We're going to go through them in more detail. I'm going to again talk to you about distractors, about clues, and about synonyms. Because, as I said, the IELTS is extremely tricky. You think you're probably getting the answer, and it may then quickly change to another answer. You need to listen particularly carefully. Cool. All right. So just write down your answers. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click thumbs up, click like if you're enjoying this video, and leave a comment, please, please, please. Right. So let's think about this. So what does Jack tell his tutor about media studies? He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. This is the question. Now we need to look at the transcript. So Dr. Ray, the woman, says the media studies option. So you know you're at the top of that list. Down the bottom, you know you're at the top of that list of all the course options. And it's in sequence. So it's going to be media studies first, then the next one, then the next one. It's not mixed up, which is good. It helps us. So we start with media studies. Okay, so she's talking about that. Then Jack says, well, that was interesting. That was interesting. Not is interesting. That was interesting. But I've decided I'd rather do something completely new. It was interesting, but I've decided I'd rather do something completely new. A, B, or C? Again, he doesn't say explicitly, I won't do it. He's not going to use those words. He's going to use other words that mean the same thing. So whatever he said, I just forgot. Let's go back and have a quick look. He said, I'd rather do something completely new. The answer there is C, he won't do it. He's adamant. He's not going to do that. If you had number 2, C, correct. Well done. Let's have a think about this one. What does Jack tell his tutor about women and power? He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. Well, let's look at the transcript. Here he mentions the subject, so you know he's moved from media studies to women's studies. There's a women's studies option, isn't there? Yes, women and power. Again, blah, blah, blah. Jack says, so it would be useful if I intended to specialize in women's studies, but I'm not sure I do actually. And you think to yourself, okay, it's going to be B. He may or may not do it. But keep listening because that was just a distractor. Let's keep listening. Dr. Ray then says, well, it might still be useful to give you an idea of the issues involved. It's taught by Dr. Steed. Jack says, oh, really? I'll sign up for that then. I'll sign up for that then. What does he tell his tutor about women in power? A, B, or C? I only see 14 likes on YouTube. Please, I'd like to see more than that. What does he say? He'll definitely do it. Oh, I'll sign up for that then. Oh, I'll sign up for that then. A, he'll definitely do it. Cool. What about number 4? What does Jack tell his tutor about culture and society? He'll definitely do it. He may or may not do it, or he won't do it. Let's have a look at the transcript. The transcript looks like this. Jack says, what about the option on culture and society so you know where you are? Dr. Ray says that addresses the blah, 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 blah. Jack says in a tone of voice, so a historical focus again. Dr. Ray says, do I get the message you're not so keen on history? Jack says, well, it's just we seem to have done quite a lot this semester. Anyway, I'll think about that one, A, B, or C. I'll think about it. I'll think about that one. Cool. The answer there, of course, is B. I'll have a think about it. He may or may not do it. He's not definitely going to do it, and he's not definitely not going to do it. Well, that didn't make sense. He might do it. He'll definitely do it. He might do it, or he won't do it. So we've gone for B, for B. Cool. Now I'm going to give you back to that crazy test paper, and you need to start to think through it, okay? Remember, this is what it looks like on test day. It's not as simple as the one that I showed you. So let's listen. I want you to listen for number 5 and number 6. Remember that you're going for what does Jack tell his tutor about identity and popular culture? Then you go up to A, B, or C. What does Jack tell his tutor about? The introduction to cultural theory, A, B, or C. Let me disappear and let me play you this audio. It's going to start from number 5, so listen carefully.
If you're interested in a course focusing on current issues, there's the option on identity and popular culture that approaches the subject through things like contemporary film, adverts, soap operas, and so on.
That sounds interesting. Can you tell me who runs it?
Well, it's normally Dr. Stevens, but he's on sabbatical next semester, so I'm not sure who will be running it. It should be decided by next week, though.
Right. Well, I might wait until then to decide. And the last option is Introduction to Cultural Theory, isn't it? I'm quite interested in that too. I was talking to one of the second-year students, and she said it was really useful. It made a lot of things fall into place.
Yes, but in fact, in your major, you'll have covered a lot of that already in Communications 102, so that might be less useful than some of the others.
Oh, I'll forget about that one then.
Now, while you're here, we could also discuss how you're getting on with your core module assignment.
All right, what have you got? What have you got for me? Number 5 and number 6. Cool. Number 6 was pretty clear. I believe he said, I'll forget about that one then, A, B, or C. B, he started out seeming very interested, but then when she told him there would be a new professor, he sort of changed his mind a little bit. Again, there was the distractor. He sounded like he was definitely going to do it, but then something happened and then he changed his mind. Cool bananas, let's have a look. So what does Jack tell his tutor about identity and popular culture? He says he may or may not do it, in other words. And what does Jack tell his tutor about introduction to cultural theory? He won't do it. Why? Because it clashes with his major. At the beginning, it sounded like he was definitely going to do it, but then he said, oh, I'll forget about that one then. He won't do it. Cool. So on your answer sheet, you should have this. 1C, that was from the multiple choice. 2C, 3A, 4B, 5B, and 6C. If you got all of those correct, please put a smiley face into the chat and click like on YouTube, please. Who got all of those correct? Yeah, nice. Good. So when we break down questions like that, it makes it much easier. In other words, there is a method to all of the madness of IELTS. One of the reasons why people don't get the band scores they need is simply because the IELTS questions are so confusing and they're so tricky. But if you start to understand the tricks that IELTS plays, then you can also, well, you're not tricky, you're just smart, okay? Cool. So what does it take for IELTS success? There are 3 things. I reckon there are 3 things. You need methods. You need strategies for each of the test sections. You need ways to answer all the different question types. You also need good quality practice materials. You have to be careful with what you use because to write an IELTS mock test to a high degree is very difficult to do. The last thing you need is feedback for speaking and writing especially. In other words, you need effective methods, good practice materials, and expert feedback. They are the 3 keys to your success, I believe. And that's exactly what we do at e2language.com. So if you need help with your IELTS, do go to www.e2language.com. You can sign up for free, or you can go straight through and become a paid member. In the meantime, I'm going to answer some Q&A. So if you have a question, please type it into the chat. If you're on YouTube, you can do the same as well. Cool, lots of smiley faces in YouTube. That's looking good. Any questions? Any questions? Syed got it all. Well done. No questions. Everybody seems to be clear. Clarity's good. Clarity's good. Nope. Nothing in Zoom. Anyway, cool. I will bid you farewell then. Thanks very much for coming along. I hope that was helpful. I think it was. As I said, it's good to break down those questions so that you can understand them clearly, so you can focus on the audio rather than the question type. Excellent. I'm sorry that was a short one, but come along again next week for free members. Paid members, of course, you get webinars every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I will see you guys soon.